The man who is leading the House GOP joins me now to talk a little bit about his new role. Representative Kurt Daudt, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So let's begin with the overall message of the Republicans during the campaign season was essentially that they balanced the state budget without raising taxes, and it didn't resonate enough with voters. Why do you think this is?
Well, obviously we struggled getting our message out, and that was a problem. Obviously we had results in the election that weren't what we were hoping for, and we find ourselves in a new position, but we really need to focus on honing that message because we believe that our fiscal policies are what Minnesotans want, and we feel like we did a great job over the last couple of years. We just failed to get that message out.
And let's parlay that message into also the issue of the school shifts. And so how high of a priority will it be for your caucus and you to return payments to school districts on time? And if it is a high priority, how do you even propose resolving the resulting budget gap?
Right. We made it a priority in the last session. We sent a bill to the governor's desk, a clean bill without any other garbage in it, to pay back that shift out of our reserves, which would have left us with more money in the reserves than the governor actually proposed in his budget. And we were going to pay back the portion of the shift that we added on over the last couple of years, and the governor vetoed that. So we were disappointed that he did that, but he's saying now that it's a priority, and we're saying it's a priority, so we're hoping that we can come together and not make this a political issue. We need to get that money paid back to the school districts so that they're not having to borrow money to cash flow themselves.
And how does it feel to not necessarily be leading this movement at this point, but be, to try to offer up your suggestions as you can, and will you?
Well, the DFL after the election said that the message that they got from the voters was that they wanted the legislature, the Republicans, the Democrats to work together. We agree with them. We feel that we want to do that. They offered an olive branch and said that they want to have a very collaborative working relationship. They want us to be involved. We very much want to take them up on that offer. However, we understand that they control the House, they control the Senate, and they control the governor's office, and there's not very much they need us for. So we're going to see their agenda, and we hope that we can have an influence on that and have an impact on that and try to move things in our direction, but it'll remain to be seen what kind of relationship we'll have, I guess.
And you did talk a little bit about the gridlock and that being a huge issue with voters this past campaign season. So let's talk about you and your style and how you lead the minority caucus. You did spend one term in the House. You were assistant majority leader. So what even motivated you to run for this position?
Well, as I said earlier, this was really an unexpected role for everybody in our caucus. We expected to be in the majority. I think if they were honest, even the DFL House members would tell you they thought we were also going to be in the majority, maybe by a slighter, tighter margin. But so we didn't really see this coming. It was kind of unexpected for me. Traditionally, when there's a change in going from the majority to the minority, typically in the past, the Speaker and the Majority Leader have stepped aside. They chose to do that again in this situation, and there were a number of us that ran for the position, but I don't know if I'd want to use the word lucky enough to get elected. I'll reserve judgment on that, but I'm excited about the opportunity. I think we really will have a good opportunity to contrast ideas and to get that message out to the voters, and we hope that we'll be back in 2 years. We think we will be.
And then, in fact, that is a great segue to my next question, because you are leading a caucus that hopes to be back in the majority. So what are some of the challenges that you now face as leader to make this goal obtainable in the future?
Well, I think that our number one priority as a caucus is to hold together. We think we have the most power when we hold our caucus together, but we want to work with the Democrats when we agree with them, and we'll offer a very clear alternative when we disagree. And we're going to leave it up to the voters in a couple of years, but we're going to work very hard, and we're going to work with the Democrats, as I said, when we can, and when we can't, we're going to show that clear alternative, and hopefully we'll have done enough and gotten our message out enough that we'll be back in the majority in 2 years.
And I guess, what are some of your expectations then leading into the legislative session?
Well, I'm interested to see what direction the DFL is going to go. Obviously, there's a lot of responsibility that goes with controlling state government completely. We haven't seen that in the last 25 or 30 years. So We'll see what direction they want to go. We feel like over the last couple of years we did a really good job with the budget, with the deficit, and with the fiscal issues in Minnesota. Unemployment is lower. It's we've left the situation with the budget in a much better state than we found it 2 years ago. So we're pretty proud of that record. We hope that the DFL will be inclusive and that we can help them and repeat that same thing here in the next budget cycle.
Do you have any advice to the DFL? Because obviously they don't need to be coming to you,
right.
But do you have any as you lead into this session?
I think we've shown that over the last couple of years you can balance a pretty big budget deficit without increasing taxes. I think that if you look at what's going on in Washington, a lot of what happens to us over the next couple of years is going to be determined by whether we hit this fiscal cliff at the federal level. The Congressional Budget Office reports show on the fiscal cliff that if they do increase taxes at the federal level, that we're going to see a pretty high uptick in unemployment. And that's a nonpartisan office that says that. My hope is that the Democrats at the state level here will understand how harmful that'll be to Minnesota's economy and to our job market here in Minnesota, and we hope that they won't double down and increase taxes on top of it if we do hit that fiscal cliff.
My last question for you, Representative Daudt, is we've already talked a bit about the idea of gridlock, and there's likely not to be any gridlock with a DFL-run legislature. However, there was also a lot of discussion about the polarization of government right now. Do you see it as your role to try to reduce that perception of polarization and to try to show voters that the caucuses can work together when necessary?
I think it is. Obviously, in the minority, it's our responsibility too to point out when we disagree. But my reputation personally is, and I think you'll find that if you ask around the building a little bit, that I'm somebody that is easy to work with, easy to get along with, and I'm somebody that really wants to get things done. So my style may be different than leaders our caucus has had in the past, but I mean it very sincerely. I'm looking forward to working with the DFL, but I'm also not going to be somebody who's going to get stepped on. I can be a pit bull at times, and we'll be aggressive in making sure that we point out where we differ with the DFL. But we do look forward to working with them.
Okay, with those words, newly elected House GOP leader Kurt Daudt, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.